Welcome to Your Biz, Your Rules, the podcast for business-minded go-getters hosted by me, your favourite brain and biz coach, Daire Paddy. This is the spot for those of you ready to blend heart and head, woo and do, income and impact, change and chill, and so much more. So grab yourself a cuppa and let's get started. Welcome to episode 233 of Your Biz, Your Rules. Now, the topic that I chose to talk about today was inspired by a passage of a book that I'm reading at the moment. So I'm currently reading a book called Waking the Tiger by Peter A. Levine. And I saw this quote, definitely underlined it in my pink pen, and it got me thinking, it got me pondering, and it made me want to talk about this. So the quote was, "In order to stay healthy, our nervous systems and psyches need to face challenges and to succeed in meeting those challenges. When this need is not met, or when we are challenged and cannot triumph, we end up lacking vitality and are unable to fully engage in life." Now, that really spoke to me because I feel like it's so true. I know that when I am being challenged mentally or challenged emotionally or challenged creatively, I go. Like, I feel so inspired, I feel so energized, I get so much momentum coursing through my veins. And I know that when I'm not being challenged, when things feel too slow or easeful or monotonous, I kind of hit a slump. Like, I get a little bit bored, I get a little bit meh about everything, and that's definitely not how I want to feel in my business. I want to feel like things are always moving, expanding, evolving, as I'm sure many of us do. Because, we didn't go into business because we want everything to be easy all the time. I know that the goal of alignment and ease is one that we hear so much about in this online business space, but in reality, ease is not the aim. Ease is not the thing that I'm seeking ultimately. We don't want to stay the same as we've always been. If we wanted to just, stay the same and do the same, then we would stay employed. We would stay in a position where someone else can tell us what to do and then give us money for doing that thing. That's really the simplest way to make a living. But if you're running a business, it's because you want something more, you want something bigger, you want something different. So that tells me, if you are in this space, if you are already in business, that you're not somebody who backs down from a challenge. You're just not. It's not part of who you are. Because business in itself is challenging. It is, even if there are parts of it that you are naturally good at, there will be parts of business that are a challenge for you. Maybe you are exceptional at the service you provide, but you really struggle with some of the admin or some of the operations. Maybe you're great at the admins and operations, but you struggle with sales. Maybe you're great at the visibility piece, the content, the marketing, the selling, but you struggle to structure programs. There are so many different parts of business that require different types of skills and different strengths and different lessons. So it's totally normal to feel challenged by some parts of business, and that doesn't put us off. That just pushes us to want to learn. It pushes us into this space where we want to figure things out and explore and, sign up to be taught all of these different things that will help us create success on our terms. Now, let's talk about some of the benefits of challenging yourself, because this is something that I think is so essential to be intentional about. Now, when I talk about how business in itself is challenging, that's a very unintentional challenge, really. We're not necessarily saying, oh yes, I'm going to run a business because I want to be challenged. No, that's not. It's just kind of a byproduct. And the challenging side of it is really just a consequence of not knowing all of the things. But I like to be proactive about creating challenges for myself. Like, that is really important to me. It's a way that I make sure that I'm always growing. It's a way to make sure that I am always experimenting and learning and doing different things and keeping myself engaged and interested, because that's really important too. Sometimes if you just do the same thing all the time, it gets kind of boring, and nobody wants to be bored by the business of their dreams, do they? So some of the benefits of taking a more proactive approach to challenging yourself are, for starters, you grow as a human and as a business owner. You engage different parts of your brain, because different kinds of challenges require different kind of skills and different ways of thinking. You uncover new talents and skills. Like, if you don't challenge yourself to do anything new, you may never realize that you are naturally good at something because you've never tried it before. Maybe you will reach new audiences and clients. Maybe you'll be able to start conversations about different things because you've challenged yourself to do something different or be in a different space. You can come up with a pure gold mine of content fodder, because when you try things out in your business, when you experiment with different things, you are like a sponge. You are learning so much, both about yourself, about the thing you're challenging yourself to do, about habits, about practices, about what does and doesn't work, and all of that is stuff that you can talk about in your business. It is stuff that you can talk about to promote your work. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at, how you function best, how you function worst. Very important lessons all around. And you stay away from that slump that comes with monotonous living, with going through the motions, of always doing the same thing, of getting stuck in a rut. And beyond that, one of the things that really makes me so committed to being intentional about challenging myself is, it's another quote that I had. So this one is from like, he's a doctor, like a medical doctor, but also a philosopher and a poet, Debashish Mudra. I'm never sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but the quote is, challenge yourself to be an example of change. Challenge yourself to be an example of change. And the reason that this is so important to me is that a big part of my business is, or a big one of my values when it comes to being in business, is showing people the reality of life, showing people the reality of business, modeling to them what is possible, and being completely transparent about the things that I try, the things that I succeed at, and the things that I fail at. So one of the reasons that I challenge myself to do different things in this way is so that people can see that it is possible for them too, so that people can see that they can change the things that they don't like, either about their lives or their businesses. That's something that keeps me personally very, very motivated when it comes to challenging myself in business. Now, let's get a little bit more specific here. Let's talk about 3 types of transformative business challenges that you can participate in. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. There will be many other types of challenge that you can embark on in your life. Like, these are just the sort of the 3 groupings that I tend to bounce between. So the first kind of challenge is when you're thinking, I want to be something different. I want to be something different. I want to have this quality that I don't currently have. So if that is something that you recognize in yourself, the first step here is to really think about who you want to be. Who do you actually want to be? If you were like 100% happy with the person that you are, who would you be? If you were gonna like time travel 3 years from now, where like, you know, your business is booming and everything is going well for you, who is that version of you who has everything running so smoothly? what qualities does that version of you have? And allow yourself to play here. Allow yourself to just ponder and journal on this and explore some of those qualities that you would really love to say are yours. And when you've done that, it doesn't have to take long. You can just take 5 minutes to do this. Pick one of those things. Pick one of those qualities and then think, okay, like what is one little habit tweak, one behavior, one challenge that will help me cultivate that specific quality. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples that I've done in my time, but like I said, make this personal to you, make it work for you. So the first example I'm going to give you is confidence. So I remember back in the day when I first started my business, I was so incredibly camera shy. Like I could not go on a Zoom call with a client and have my camera on without getting stress sweat. I could not take a selfie, let alone post a selfie on Instagram. Oh my God. Like the thought of just spontaneously going live back then, it was not going to happen. It was not going to happen. I was not going to be having my face on camera. No. But I knew deep within me that if I wanted to make a success out of my business, I needed to get comfortable being visible. I needed to learn how to be confident showing up and talking about the work that I do, talking about the transformation I facilitate, talking about my story, talking about how I can help people. I needed confidence. And the first piece of that was confidence being on camera. And so the way that I created that confidence in being on camera was by challenging myself to do a whole month of daily live streams. So every day for a month, I would go live on Facebook at 12 p.m, so midday, and do a live stream. And for the first, I would say like 10 to 14 days, it was physically painful for me to do that. Like I wanted to throw up. It was so horrible. It was so stressful. I would like start blushing. I would mumble. I would panic. I would trip over my words. I would second guess myself. I would just be like having my eyes darting all over the place. I would find it really, really stressful. But I did it. I stuck with it. And when I got to that 10, 14 day mark, suddenly things started going a little bit easier. Things started running a little bit more smoothly. And while like, no, overnight I wasn't some kind of like influencer babe just slaying it on camera, but I could do it without freaking out. And over time, I have learned how to do that more and more. And so now you'll see that I can very comfortably go live. I can very comfortably do Instagram stories with no makeup on. I can very comfortably create video content for the different courses that I teach. But that only happened because I challenged myself in that way. And yes, it was a very intense challenge, but that's what I needed to get over that lack of confidence. Now, another example, a while back, so I would say, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years ago, I got to a really unhealthy place work-wise. So I was really overworking. I was on the precipice of burnout. I was really, really not choosing the healthiest work habits at all. I would work every evening, I would work every weekend, and it was just not having the greatest ripple effect on my life or on my health, both mental, physical, emotional, all of the healths. And so I knew, again, I needed to make a drastic change. And based on what I know works for me, so doing an abrupt challenge like that, I was like, okay, I am going to put a limit on myself. I'm not going to work any more than 4 hours a day. And that was it. That was the new rule. 4 hours a day, again, for 30 days. So that was the limit that I set for myself. And I did that. And I told the people who needed to know, the people that might need to enforce this new rule. So I told my VA, I told my partner, I told my like biz buddies that I'm not going to be working for more than 4 hours a day. And I had to start using a time tracker to make sure that I stuck with that, so that I was very, very aware of how long I was working each day. And again, the first week or so, absolute agony. It was horrible. It was so uncomfortable because it was so different. It was so alien from what I was used to doing. Like, I just really struggled to cope for that first week or so. And I remember distinctly hitting my 4-hour point, switching off my computer, and then just staying sat at my desk because I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what to do with that expanse of time. Like, I didn't know what to do with that new, I suppose, freedom. And it took me a really long time to actually be okay with doing non-work related things in what my brain considered to be working hours. But a consequence of that challenge was that I massively redefined my relationship with work. And I've never gone back to that place where I overwork every day, every week, every month. Yes, there will be times where, I need to put more time into business, where there are certain projects that need a lot of attention over a short period of time. But that is not the norm anymore. And I can honestly say that I feel that sense of balance. I feel that sense of balance, and that is the quality that I was wanting to call in. So it really does work. So that's our first type of business challenge, the wanting to be something different. Now let's talk about number 2, which is wanting to create something different. So this might be something like an online program. It might be a new platform or channel. It might be any kind of asset in your business. So for this, the question that I would get you to think on, to journal on, is what does that next level you have? So that version of you that we talked about during the last challenge that I mentioned. So that person, that you 3 years from now, who, has everything down, like has everything running like clockwork, has the results that they've been working towards, like all of that is happening for them. What do they have? Do they have a membership site? Do they have a YouTube channel? Do they have a podcast? Do they have a signature program? Do they have a one-on-one coaching practice? Do they have a book? Like, what is it that they have? Like, what creations have they put together? That's what we're looking at here. So when you're clear on some of those things, just pick one of those assets and break it down. What is one tangible mission that you could embark on that will help you create that one asset? So again, we'll look at some examples from my experience. When I thought about, super successful Daire, one of the things that was really clear to me is that she has a YouTube channel. And she doesn't just have like a basic bitch YouTube channel. She has a YouTube channel that is a highly valuable resource for her audience, for her potential clients and current clients. People look forward to her videos. She looks forward to creating them. And she has this amazing archive of so many things that people can dive into and binge watch. I saw that as a very clear visual when I did this exercise myself. And so what I decided to challenge myself to do, is batch a whole year's worth of YouTube content ahead of time. And so a few months back, I did that. I got really clear on the type of resources that I wanted to be sharing on YouTube, and I made a plan of attack. And so this one wasn't really like a doing something every day for 30 days kind of challenge, because it was more about a specific outcome rather than cultivating a new habit or practice. So what I did was I looked, okay, if I'm going to do a video every week for a year, that's 52 videos. Okay, if I know these are the topics I want to cover, great, break it down. So how can I handle each of these topics in different ways? Great, broken down even more. And so I made a plan very, very quickly of the content that I wanted to batch. And then I simply started implementing my batch like a bitch process, which I used to teach back in the day. And I did it for myself to create that hearty stash of YouTube videos. And now I have them scheduled up to go one a week until I believe September of 2023. So I will have a YouTube video out every single week until September of 2023. So I'm already well on my way to creating that vision of having this amazing resource hub that will not only delight people and support people and help people when they come across it, but it will also bring people to me. It will bring clients to me. It will help them see what's possible when they work with me. It'll warm them up, which is exactly what I wanted. So that's one example. Another example is I wanted to create a signature program that contains all of the teachings that I have. So not necessarily the full breadth of the transformation that I can offer, because a lot of that comes with, you know, doing work live together or doing one-on-one work, things like that. But the core principles of how I work, how I do business, how I live life, I wanted to create a signature program that taught all of those things. And so I did. I challenged myself to create that. And I gave myself, I believe, 6 weeks to get that done. And I did it. And that is how Unshakable Business Academy was born. So I started by thinking, okay, what is it that I have been teaching in all of these different places? How do these things fit together? What are the pillars of practice that I want to focus on? And so I had these very set 5 pillars of practice that I wanted to be able to guide people through. And then beneath that, each of those pillars of practice had multiple lessons. I think they all have like 3 or 4 lessons where we go deep into a particular concept, into a particular practice, into a particular methodology. And it was very easy for me to outline that because it's all stuff that I've been doing in different places, in different formats. And so I brought it together into one place. And then I was like, okay, cool. What needs to happen next? So then I, again, brought my batching skills into effect and, you know, outlined my trainings, created my slide decks, batch recorded things, all of that stuff. And I just knocked it out really, really quickly, knowing that it was at a high quality. And so now that program exists, and for a couple of years I ran it live, so we had live coaching calls. I'm now in the process of making it a self-study program with a twist. So it's going to be a self-study program with one-on-one Voxer support. So when people sign up, they get a whole year's worth of Voxer support to support them as they're working through Unshakable Business Academy. Now, you can see how in these 2 instances, it was about creating 2 very different things. One is an asset that is something that I can sell on Unshakable Business Academy. And one thing is an asset that is going to support me in growing my audience, growing my community. But both of them are about creating something. Then our third type of transformative business challenge is you want to try something different. And this one is where we get to play and we get to have a little bit of extra fun. So the questions I want you to think about here are, what do you want to master? And what do you no longer want to be afraid of? So different questions are going to appeal to different types of people here, or people at different stages in life at the moment. Now, this is something that I often pull from when a new social media platform is on the rise, or a new feature of a social media platform is on the rise. So if there's something that I'm really resisting and I just want I want things to go back to how it used to be, this is the type of challenge that I will dive into. So when we think of something that we want to master, that might be something that you avoid doing because you just you haven't figured it out yet. You don't know how to actually put that thing together. And when it's something that you no longer desire to be afraid of, it might be just something that you are very against for some inexplicable reason. Like for me, it was reels. Like for ages, I was so anti reels. And actually, it was probably for both of these reasons. So number one, I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. I felt like I needed to learn how to actually do it, and I couldn't be bothered to do that. And I was very resistant. I was very afraid of making reels because I felt like I was going to have to make an idiot out of myself. I felt like I was going to have to do things that didn't mesh with my values. And for that reason, it was something that I avoided. And while there are, of course, like there are no rules to say that you have to jump on new platforms or try new formats if you don't want to do that, if it's not something that you're interested in, I never want to be the person who is afraid of change. And for that reason, I challenged myself to do 100 days of lives. Not 100 days of lives, 100 days of reels. And this is one of my, let's say, failures of a challenge. I did not stick to 100 days of reels. And a big reason for that is, I think, day 7 or 8, I came down with COVID. And I developed long COVID, and I was ill for like a month, and I could barely speak for 20 seconds without coughing, let alone jump about, be high energy, be magnetic, be speaking on camera, all of that stuff. And so I had to give myself permission to stop in that case. And that doesn't come easily to me. I don't like to be beaten. But even just from doing it for 7 or 8 days, I managed to overcome my struggles, because not only did I publish lives for 7 or 8 days, I actually batched a whole bunch behind the scenes. So every day when my makeup was done, when my hair was looking reasonable, when I was wearing a bra, I would, instead of just doing one reel for that day, I would batch a few. So I would do like 5 or 10 reels every day and save them. Unfortunately, recently there was an Instagram glitch and all of my drafts got deleted. But for a good long time, I had maybe 80 or 90 real drafts there. So even though I didn't publish 100 days of reels, I actually created them. And it got me over my fear. It taught me how to actually put together a reel, and it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. And it also sort of trained me to be less afraid of this new format, less resistant to it. And speaking of resistance, so another example that I have for you is, so it's less of like a content creation, business asset kind of challenge here, but I remember when I did my first breathwork session, I hated it. I hated it from the depths of my soul. I hated it. It was so uncomfortable. And so then from that point on, whenever anyone would send me a link to a breathwork session or invite me along to an event that included breathwork, I said no. I was very resistant to going. I did not have any interest in doing breathwork. And I remember distinctly one morning sitting there with my journal and writing about this, and I was just like asking myself, like, why do I hate breathwork so much? It's literally just breathing, and I do that every day. And I realized that I'd been resisting it because there was something for me there, because breathwork was a technique that had a huge capacity to help shift something for me and help shift something deep for me. And so I was like, okay, I know what I need to do here. I need to set myself a challenge. That's something that always works for me. And so I challenged myself to, you've guessed it, 30 days of breathwork. So every single day for 30 days, I did a breathwork session. Sometimes it was like a full-on 45-minute, hour and a half kind of breathwork workshop style. Sometimes it was a 5-minute breathwork technique in the morning. But the non-negotiable was that every day for 30 days I had to do some form of breathwork. And I did. And I actually really, really transformed my relationship with breathwork. I learned to love it so much that I actually then went on to get certified, and now it's something that I offer inside of my programs and with my one-on-one clients. So it just goes to show that sometimes the thing that we resist is something that is actually meant for us. And this is where practices like journaling can really come in handy, because we can unpick what's going on there. We can ask ourselves the annoying questions. So if you notice that you're wanting to avoid something, ask yourself why and allow yourself to go deep there, because it may very well be that you just don't like the thing and you don't want to do it. But it also might be that you are avoiding it because you are avoiding change. Just a little bit of food for thought there. Hopefully you've seen that there are a vast array of different ways that you can challenge yourself. And hopefully you've also seen that there are so many benefits to doing it too. And not just doing it as a reaction to a difficult situation, but challenging yourself with some intentionality. So how long should your challenge last? That is a great question, and one that I'm sure a lot of people will immediately come up with when they think about challenging themselves to do something. Now, unfortunately, the answer is there is no answer. It is totally up to you. But there are a couple of things that I want you to think about when deciding on the scope of your challenge. So number one, what feels feasible? Like, what feels like you could actually achieve it? Because we want to set ourselves up for success here. Challenging yourself is not about creating an impossible standard. It's about stretching you. So that's the second question. What feels like a stretch? So what feels feasible? What feels like a stretch? Because we don't want to be doing something that is such a no-brainer and so doable that you could literally do it with no effort and it is not going to challenge you at all. Like if I said I was going to do 4 days of live streams, like that's not a challenge. That's just a motivated week. But 31 days of live streams, that is a challenge. That is a challenge. Some structure is good, restriction is not. So make sure that you're navigating that line. Now, one of the ways that I'm doing this with this live stream challenge is I am not setting a specific time each day for me to go live. Now, back in the day when I did my first live stream challenge, I had a set time of day every single day where I'd show up and go live. And the reason that I did that then is because I really didn't want to go live. I did not want to be going live. And I knew that if I just left it up to my mood, I would procrastinate and I would put it off and I would never actually do the thing. But now, because I don't have that same resistance to going live, I'm allowing myself to be flexible. I'm allowing myself to fit it into my day wherever I like, whenever I'm feeling chatty, whenever I'm feeling inspired. So only you know yourself, only you know what will be most supportive for you. And remember that you have permission to change your mind as you go. So maybe if you start your challenge with saying, I'm going to do it for this long and I'm going to do it at this time of the day, and then you realize, actually, I don't like doing it at that time of the day, I want to do it at this time of the day, you have permission to change that. Like, it's totally up to you. Just remember always, set yourself up for success. Set yourself up for success. If you remember that quote that I shared with you at the beginning, our nervous systems and our psyches need to not just face challenges, but succeed in meeting those challenges. So we're really focusing on the success part here. We are not available for impossible challenges. Now, I also want you to remember that this doesn't have to happen daily. I've talked a lot here about 30-day challenges because that's something that really works for me. That's something that really helps me establish a new practice, establish a new habit, and make a sustained change. But that is not the case for everybody. So you might decide that you want to do something every other day. You might decide that you want to do something weekly. You might decide you want to do something monthly. Again, your challenge, your rules, we are setting you up for success here. So make it work for you, but make it, like I said, stretchy enough that it keeps you engaged, that it keeps you on your edge. Now let's talk about what to do if you fail your challenge. Well, if you fail, you fail. It's not really about the outcome. It's about the person that you get to become along the way. It's about those qualities that you get to adopt. It's about those assets that you get to work on. It is about the new skills and experimentation that you get to enjoy. It's not about like a finite endpoint. Nothing in business is, because we don't have an endpoint other than death, depending on your belief system. It is always about the person that you get to become along the way. The person who is more self-aware, the person who knows themselves, knows what they like, knows more about their business, knows more about their skills, their strength, their audience. It's the person who is more grounded, the person who really knows how they like to work and how to get the best out of themselves. It is about the person who is not afraid to make powerful moves or not afraid to try new things, no matter how uncomfortable they might be. It is not about an end result. And remember, you may uncover something along the way that you absolutely adore and that you want to stick with long term, or you want to position your entire business around. You may just, celebrate the shift that you've experienced and choose to keep up elements of your challenge, but maybe less frequently. Or you may realize that you really didn't like the thing. You did not like the thing. It didn't work for you. It's just not for you. And if that's the case, that's okay, but still acknowledge the lessons that you've learned during the process of challenging yourself. And at least that way you know for certain, this isn't for me. It's not that I'm afraid of it. It's not that I'm resisting. It's not that I'm sabotaging myself. I just do not like that thing. And that's an important lesson too. And we often only realize these things through practice. So I would love, love, love for you to take action on something that you've heard from me today. So start thinking to yourself, how could you challenge yourself in your business? How could you get intentional, get proactive about using challenges to support your growth, to support your evolution? I would love to hear from you in the DMs, in my comments, wherever, just letting me know what you are going to take action on from today. And if you're currently facing the kind of challenge that requires you to step things up, to be brave, to be vulnerable, to be open, to be willing to try something different in exchange for getting exactly what you want out of your business, then I want to extend an invitation to you. And that invitation is to Outraged, a new 6-week experience that I'm currently enrolling for, specifically designed for ambitious business owners with real life struggles. And what I mean by that is people with real emotions and real inner demons and dramas that they have to deal with day to day, as do most of us. Now, during this experience, we are going to get together to explore and transmute the 5 most limiting emotions that I've seen keep people just like you stuck. Not by simply releasing them or smothering them in affirmations, but by acknowledging them, working with them, and transmuting them into something that we can use to fuel our next move. So what you are going to be experiencing is a blend of conscious reprogramming, subconscious transformation, and somatic shifts, all blitzed together into a rather fabulous, fun experience. If that piques your interest, then definitely go and hit the link in the show notes and just peruse what is included. And if it speaks to you, if it feels like the right thing, then come join us. The best time to say yes to this is now, because this is the first time I'm running it. And as you know, I offer crazy exclusive discounts when I do the first round of anything. And who doesn't love a bargain? So take a look at that page, have a little think, and hopefully I'll see you there. Thank you for listening to Your Biz, Your Rules. I know that we all like to listen to podcasts, watch videos, read articles or books or posts on Facebook and not really do anything with that information. So I want to challenge you right now. I want to challenge you to take something from this episode, anything, and use it to spark action. Use it to activate some kind of change in the way you work and the way you live. Do yourself this service today and tell me all about it on Instagram. Hop over, shoot me a DM or share an Instagram story showcasing what action you are taking thanks to this episode. And of course, do all of the usual things. Subscribe, leave a review, let me know how much you love the show, and I will be back with you next week.